Hello everyone and welcome to the second day of Land of the Crescent. Here we have another very special guest, Burak Tezateşer, the founder of Nowhere Studios. He is the founder and also one of the designers for a few titles. Welcome, sir.
Hey, John.
How
Very
are you?
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So it's a privilege because you started with Kickstarter. We started with Kickstarter at a fairly early time before, let's say, the boom of the hyper-casual games in Turkey. And you were there before us. So we saw you as some kind of an example.
It was our first contact with each other. I
Yeah.
mean, when you were preparing for
Yes, sir.
Kickstarter, I mean, you called me one day with some panic mode. I mean, you were looking for something, you didn't know how to do it. And I remember that day. I mean, I was walking in somewhere in Ayaza.
As always in game development, there was some kind of a crisis. And it was one of my very first big crises.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to admit that you were always very calm and helpful. Thank you for that.
Thanks a lot. I mean, we've been all to each other, I guess.
Yeah. So you were there before the hyper-casual boom, and you were there before games were deemed profitable in Turkey. So what made you follow this kind of a dream in the first place? I mean, in 2010s.
Yeah, it was 2010s, and it was quite different than it was today, right? I always I grew up with games. I mean, I played chess, poker, and many online games, and I also studied game theory. And I mean, games was always some part of my life. Yeah, I mean, in economics actually.
All right, that is true. John Nash, I guess, one of the pioneers. Yeah.
Studies those type of things, and and one day, I mean, a friend of mine helped me to create a division in their company for games, and I mean, my journey for games started, I guess.
Cool. And then, how did it turn into forming your own company and following your own vision?
Well, I was playing those Steam games. I mean, back in the early days of Steam, and I was quite, fascinated by them. I mean, I was fascinated by this indie publishing thing. You know, I mean, because before that indie publishing thing, everybody were looking for publishers, and it was quite hard to work with them. You were only getting a small percentage of the money. But then after 2005, people started to make their own games and started to publish their, with the democratization of tools and platforms. Yeah. It all started with Steam actually, and Xbox Live Arcade, so I guess.
Can we say that with Steam, the necessity for hardcore logistics and transport and raw materials, all those physical stuff suddenly disappeared? So the scene for independent developers or let's say game designer aspirers, the scene opened for us, right? Unlocked for us because of that digital revolution. I mean,
many people weren't aware of that at the moment. I mean, even we didn't have these powerful engines back at that time. But now, there are much more developers around for PC sure. And consoles right now.
For sure. All right. So, what's with the very first game? An atmospheric puzzle platformer. And how did it turn into an idea, and how did it jump to the Kickstarter and became your first title? I'm talking about Monochroma.
Yeah, I'm going to give away something that I don't talk about really that much.
Great. Good material for camera then.
Well, we decided for the title of Monochroma, making a weighted decision matrix. And
wow, AI before AI?
Well, there were 15 different genres of games that we were thinking of making. And we created some decisions criteria like, can we make this? Is it fun to make this? Do we want to make this?
I see.
Can we find people to develop this?
You know, Orçun Nişli is also a friend of mine, and I know that like you worked on that game together.
Yeah.
Like, is that like someone to mention about this process as well?
Of course, I mean he is the main creative people behind Monochroma.
Yeah, like we
I'm-
say hi to him from here, really.
Yeah, I'm more like the producer in that project. I always wanted to be a designer, but I mean it was my first project, and I didn't dare to be the designer of the project. So Orçun designed the project. I helped him produce it.
Great. So you told that like you were trying to decide which one to follow, like with 15 different ideas and projects.
Yeah, 15.
Like this is very strategic, man. This is very strategic because like in Cultic games for us, yeah, like we also work on many different
So
ideas.
we want to make a game, not just. I mean,
It doesn't matter.
Monochroma wasn't a dream
Yeah,
for us.
just give me a computer and you know I'm going to develop it. All right. So you started with the puzzle platformer, and like it was compared with Limbo
Yeah.
a couple of times. Like, do you think this is because of the like black and white aesthetic, or like did you aim for that kind of a similarity, or?
There are a couple of things we've gone too far. I mean, I didn't
see.
realize it at that moment, but then when I think about it, going backwards, I realized those things. I mean,
Very
first of all,
honest, sir. Thank you.
First of all, I mean, the main character. I mean, the main character is really similar to the one in Limbo. I mean, I didn't realize that back in Limbo. I mean, it's just a bland character for me. But it's not. I mean, it's like it's a teenage guy, and
Yeah. But you know what? Like when I look to the game, like from this point in time, you really achieved something with Monochroma. Like with the depth, like with the general atmosphere, like with the blending of animations, like it was not an easy task.
Yeah.
It was not an easy task. So like, I'd like to really congratulate you on this. And sometimes, you know, having some kind of a model on the table is better. And we all know that almost all our games have been like inspired by another game. Like without the first Fallout, I wouldn't even be a game developer. Not at all.
probably same for me as well about Fallout.
Yeah, like we can, you know, praise Fallout for many days. Let's move on. All right. So,
There are other factors as well. I mean, I
Please,
should mention, like,
of course.
the physics-based puzzles, for example. I mean, I didn't realize that this is a similarity factor back then. I mean, I thought that it was just a thing for a puzzle platformer, and it was kind of like that at that time. I mean, we didn't have those many different platformer types. I mean, physics puzzles were kind of.
Did you use Unity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, when we started using Unity with Monochroma, Monochroma was the biggest project for Unity.
Wow.
I mean, even Unity was a very small team back then. And
Yeah, like
it
and
grew much bigger than
look,
Nova
look
Studios.
how things, look how things, you know, grow, really. Anything you'd like to add, or shall we continue with another title?
We can go on.
Okay. I remember a moment that happened in between us. Once you told me, I envy you because you can do some game design. I'm all production these days. Like this was a conversation that happened between us.
Did I tell this to you?
While I was working on Stygian and you were working on, you weren't working on anything yourself.
Then I switched to design.
Yeah, I know. I will come to
I
that.
followed my dream.
I will come to that. And like this has changed with Circadian City.
Even before that, actually, I mean, we were trying to make a game called Dan Black, kind of like a cinematic adventure
like a
game.
telltale adventure game. Like
Yeah.
you showed me some visuals, I guess.
Yeah, we couldn't find any investors
Taxi
for that
driver
project.
kind of a situation. Yeah.
I was going to be the designer for that project as well. So after actually Monochroma, I became the designer of Nova Studios.
My question is, are you happier now?
Of course.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Aren't you doing any production
I'm kind of doing some production as well, but there are people helping me about it. Actually, there are people helping about design as well. But I mean,
Of course.
I view my primary mission as design right now.
Okay. So, like, if we see you as a game designer who has experience for more than a decade, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
not as a designer, but
Yeah,
in
but-
total in the industry. Yeah.
But you know, like some of that experience counts anyway. Like, what kind of recommendation do you have for aspiring game designers?
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm getting this question all the time because I'm, you
Yeah.
know, I'm lecturing and you're
Of
lecturing
course,
as well.
of course. But like my question is specifically for people like who do this, like maybe as a profession or in an independent team, like as an amateur. I don't know what it means these days, but like what do you do to level up? What do you do to progress yourself? What do you do to observe others and like put good material into your own stuff?
Okay, I mean, whatever I say, I mean, it won't be enough. I mean, there are lots of things to learn, but the major things, I guess, is to learn about how a game studio works and how a game is developed, what stages in the game development there, and in which stage you should do what kind of work. You need to understand those type of things, and I mean, when you're starting the industry, I mean everybody is dreaming about becoming a designer, and I was dreaming about becoming a designer. But even in the studio, I found it myself. I didn't dare to be the designer. I mean, because I mean I knew there were things that I needed to learn, and I mean there were.
So like, what was your biggest surprise? Like, while we were all started by playing games, right? And like we all assumed that game design was something like this, something like that, and then we faced the real deal. So what was the biggest surprise for you?
You need to
when did you say, what the fuck is going on? Like, I wasn't dreaming about this kind of a thing.
You need to understand what the programmers are doing.
Very good point.
I mean, without understanding them and without speaking the same language, it's impossible.
Yeah, very good, very good. Do you have any tips about like trying to find a mutual language with
Well, I mean,
engineers, programmers?
starting from a programmer path is great. I mean, you understand, I mean,
Yeah.
you speak the same language. But if you're not coming from that background, I mean, you need to learn some things. You need to spend some time together. You need to learn how they think. You need to learn how they produce things, and you should learn what you can ask from them.
Sounds valid, sir. Okay, so after the Circadian City, there's the Good Heavens. Your new game, I think it will come out in
2024, but we didn't announce an exact date yet.
Yeah. We all know the story about this. You know, let's leave it a little bit vague for sure. This looks fantastic, sir. Like the cartoonish elements. There are many games trying to, you know, catch this kind of a feel, but it really feels like some kind of a like crossbreed between Don't Starve and like Adventure Time. But I'm using this
in
like,
terms of
in a good
aesthetics,
way.
yeah.
In a good way. So like it looks that like it has an interesting world. I mean, the way you present it looks slick. It shows like some kind of experience for sure in the team and like how you convey things. UI is also like looks much more, let's say, easy to understand and accessible. So my question is, from the beginning, from the very early days of production, like what did you on this game, planning this game, what did you choose to do differently to have those effects?
I have another nice answer for this question. I mean,
Please.
I haven't seen your questions. I mean, you didn't show them to me before,
Yeah.
but okay.
By choice.
I know what I'm doing differently now. First of all, I think I understood what, we're kind of a Steam-first approach. We're releasing our games on PC first, and Steam is the biggest player there, of course. So I think I understood what Steam users are looking for. And it's also related with the algorithms of Steam as well. Steam shows your game.
It also makes sense with your background. Like finance, game theory. You probably dabbled with statistics before, so
yeah. I'm not talking about that. Algorithm things that much, but I'm thinking that Steam is showing you first to the people who played the similar games before. So anyone who would start playing your game or our game as an indie developer would have played like 20 games of that genre before. So they have very elevated taste, you know.
Yeah.
They know what they're looking for. You
RPG players are
as the developer, you need to surpass
their
expectations, and it's you need to understand.
And it's almost impossible.
You need to understand those games very well, as much as those hardcore gamers of the genre.
Very true. Otherwise, you cannot get a really good score.
And you need to answer to their expectations. I'm reading reviews a lot.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah, I spend every day at least 10 minutes every day. Read some game reviews on Steam. And that really helps.
For sure. I remember myself reading and answering all the comments of Stygian, which were in thousands, the ones in Chinese, Russian, I used Google Translate to read them all, and also answered almost all of them in the first 4 or 5 days of the release, single-handedly. The team was in holiday, they were in some kind of a burnout, but I couldn't do that. I didn't have the luxury. I read them all. It was heart-wrenching, but at the same time, it was totally enlightening.
Reading your own games review is really hard. It's a tough thing to do.
It is
but
cool,
I'm not talking about that only. I'm talking about reading the reviews of other games.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. So, we talked about production, and we talked about the time that you were focusing your efforts in game development in production. And I know that you teach game production as well.
Yeah.
And I find it as a very underestimated part of game development overall. And a couple of months ago, at OGEM, I gave a lecture kind of a workshop on game production, because we are training 3D artists, we are training designers, we are training developers, but I guess we somehow fail at training game producers and project managers. So it's somehow, and I think Serkan will also confirm us in this, it will somehow puts another burden of our shoulders as game directors to do the project management as well. What are your comments about this, and how can we turn this into a role that could be that should be considered as a must in Turkish game industry?
Well, even if you're a solo developer, what you're doing is a business in its core. So you need money to survive, and you need some deadlines. And the bigger your team is, the stricter. You need more
planning,
more well-defined,
programming,
deadlines and goals. So somebody in the team has to look at this from a business side of perspective. So you need to learn about this if you're starting your studio. If you're even if you're not a studio, if you're just a team of developers, somebody in that team need to look at things seriously. We need to make this within this time scope, within this budgets, etc., etc. And they need to start looking for funding, or I mean maybe investors. I mean they should think about marketing and all these things. I mean, when you fail one part of this,
It's all
everything fails.
Yeah. So like, what can we do? What can we do to like encourage young people to, you know, like for the possibility of becoming game producers and project managers and
well, I mean,
business developers?
spending some time, I mean, in any time in any type of game development environment will force them to learn these things if nobody is doing those things. I believe. But I mean, it's helpful probably in a university environment to learn about this stuff a little at least, and be prepared a little.
I agree. All right, so like another observation I made about the 3 games you're making or made in the past, they all belong to different genres, like monochroma, puzzle platformer, like in an atmospheric world, and then like Circadian City. It's a life sim of a sort, like with dream world elements. And now Good Havens, like it's a like survival kind of a like cartoonist sim. So
I think I'm approaching to games I like more, little by little, you know.
Yeah. Like for us, I mean, like we started with the Dream project. I always wanted to, you know, develop an RPG. But I also like the change. I also like to like work on different material, like with different elements and tools. So like it was a choice by us to like switch to a different kind of a 2D, a different kind of a gameplay feel and stuff like that, because this is such a demanding job that refreshing yourself here and there, refreshing your perspective helps to keep your motivation. Are you like that, or like is there any other decision behind it?
There are 2 things. I mean, one is encouraging others to make like this maybe, and the other answer would be, I mean, probably sticking in the same genre is better. For the first approach, I mean, you don't always work in the games that you like playing the most. So at the end of all, I mean, this is a job. Like, this is you're making games to survive, and you need to make that sell well, or you need to make games that you can do. Even, I mean, maybe you're playing some AAA games, but I mean, as an industry, you can't develop AAA games.
Yeah,
so
like each year, some student group comes to me at first year, at like the first grade, and they told me that, like, teacher, like, we have formed a team, we are going for AAA quality kind of a thing, and you know, in 2 weeks' time, they become invisible.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't always work on your dream game the moment you start in the industry, even if it's your own studio.
Yeah, like if you want to keep your sanity, of course.
Well, from the other point of perspective, it's, well, I should add another thing. But once you learn how to make games, the genre you play the most becomes an area that you can create an edge to other games.
Very wise.
So, you know,
I agree.
I mean, at the end of 10 years in the industry now, that I feel I can create an edge now. I mean, I'm now trying to make the best game in my genre.
Good luck, bro. Really
but before that, I mean,
really
before that, I was trying to somehow make a game that holds. No,
yeah.
I mean, I wasn't trying to create that edge that time.
Yeah.
From the other perspective, starting with the genre you want to make is a good idea because, I mean, it builds up.
Very true. I mean, sometimes we talk about different projects at the office. Like sometimes we mention like fighting games. For example, I love fighting games. Like, of course, like I played like my share of Street Fighter, Samurai, Shodown, Darkstalkers, like you name it.
So Serkan is coming here, I guess.
Yeah. We have summoned Serkan. But at the same time, you know, I'm not a pro gamer. I'm not really into fighting games. Like, I'm not that person who knows every fucking move of Scorpion. So in the end, like, if I find myself in developing that kind of a game, I know that I cannot be the creative director, because the creative director should be a maniac who has spent like a huge amount of time in that universe. And like, while playing those games, like, he should know about the feel, he should know about the timing, the rhythm, like the complexity of the moves, like
all the problems of different games.
So I can when some of my teammates, they mentioned to like make a game like that, I tell them like, I can be the art director. Like, I can work on the characters, but I cannot guarantee you like some kind of a really, like you mentioned, a gameplay on the edge, because like, I'm not living on that border. I'm living on the border of like RPGs, on narrative games, like somehow some other, let's say, indie gameplay-oriented mechanical games here and there. But you know, I'm not that person. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, the genre that you play, that you spend the most time in, after some experience, it should be your expertise.
And it also holds up for the team as well.
Yeah.
And I believe, I mean, everybody in the team should be playing those games extensively.
Very true.
I mean, sometimes, I mean, they're not coming from those games, they should start playing those games if they're developing a game like that.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would put a lot of like some new constraint on you, because like playing is the easiest way to learn things. If they do not play, if you have to express them, the elements of the game, you're losing a big amount of time, right?
First thing I'm looking in a job interview, I ask the job applicant to make their Steam profile public, and I look at their games and play it times.
Makes sense. Are you listening? You people who are going to get recruited by Nowhere Studios in the future. Okay, so for good heavens, I know that you're working with like an American publisher. So any comments for aspiring game developers, like who have the dream of like working with a publisher like from the States or from Europe in the future? How is your communication? Any tips on that?
Our journey is kind of weird, because we started without a publisher, then we started to work with a publisher in our newer games.
It was always my case so far.
So normally, I mean, the normal path would be to start with a publisher, because I mean, there are things to learn about marketing and other things. And then if you feel comfortable, you should start developing on your own. But I mean, we've done the wrong thing, I guess.
We usually do.
I think working with the publisher helps you to focus on the game itself, and it's a big plus.
Okay. So, like, what should they, like those people, like who are on the verge of like making such a deal or a similar thing, like what should they be prepared for while working with a publisher, a big publisher?
Well, I mean, the publisher is looking for studios, good studios, and studios are looking for good publisher, and they're all judging each other with the track record of the publisher and the developer. So other than that, I think they should look at previous games published by those guys. I mean, do they know the genre? And do they have team members that would really help those developers if when they're stuck, when they're don't know what to do, etc.
You know, like I do not have to be politically correct on this one, because like I do not have an ongoing deal with anyone at the moment, and like my recommendation would be stick to your damn milestones. We all know that. Okay, so like it was very enjoyable to talk with you on your games. Would you like to add anything else, like for our audience, for also players, we talked about like the development side of things, but I know there are players watching us, listening to our experience. Do you have anything to share with them?
The only thing I want to add actually is this. I mean, how awesome this event is. Really, I mean, I always wanted to do something like this, but I never had the energy. I didn't know how to do it, and I really congratulate you guys. And
Thank you. Like,
yeah, it's really an honor to be part of this.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Like, we have to send some big kudos to Buglab Tekmer team, Mr. Güven Çatak, Görkem, my team, Buglab Tekmer team again, like Oytun Hoca, Züleyha, Berk, a lot of people. But you know, we will turn to that. But yeah, it's also a privilege for me to be a part of it. We got like around 5 minutes. So, and you know, we spoke from time to time.
Let's talk about Kickstarter.
Okay, mostly in crisis times. So it's a good opportunity for me to, you know, hang out and, you know, talk about game development generally. Let's talk about Kickstarter. Yeah. What has changed in the Kickstarter?
You know what I mean? How many people were calling you after you succeeded your Kickstarter
in
campaign?
Turkey?
Yeah.
Throughout years?
Well, I
more
was
than
getting,
100.
I was getting a call every day almost. I mean, someone has some kind of a project and they want.
How did you do it, bro? What's going on? From which country did you get the money? Kind of a deal, huh?
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as easy to find as you, sir. I'm not, so I have an advantage about that.
It's not easy to reach. You know?
Yeah, but like a lot of people wrote.
Well, it's not the same.
I tried to return to a good deal of them, but you know, after all, we have so limited time. You know, trying to make games that require a huge amount of time. So like, if I missed anybody, like I'm sincerely sorry. It's not why. But you know, you did it before us, and a couple of years later, like I had my own experience. But when I think about Kickstarter these days, I do not feel prepared because like there is like more than 7 years in between, and the climate and the dynamics, the board game revolution happened in between. So like it has drastically changed. So yes, I have the experience, but I do not feel at ease to like share that experience because it might be a little bit outdated. Like, how are you in this case?
Well, I don't know if I should put any of my games to Kickstarter from now on. I mean, partly because of how Steam works again. You know what I mean? There are some people who follow you. I mean, these are people who you're, you know, socially influenced somehow from social media, from people around you, etc. Those are the people who would buy your game whenever you release it. If you go to Kickstarter, they would buy it from Kickstarter, and they would just activate their product on Steam. And this wouldn't kick
at the release.
This wouldn't kick the algorithms of Steam because I mean the sales on. I mean they're not helping.
Okay, because they're free keys.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point of view.
So
Good
yeah,
point
I mean it
I
helps
like
them
that,
to
I like
buy
that
the
you're
game from
very
Steam.
Steam and algorithm oriented because like this is a necessity. This is a reality. I mean, when I started this around like 2015, making some kind of a place in like in the news sites like Rock Paper Shotgun, Kotaku, so it was a big deal for us. Like we did our best to, you know, have some kind of news over there because they were more influential. But right now, Steam is a different ecosystem in itself. And there are many beautiful games that I would have no idea if I only followed those news sites. So like, there is a huge divergence between the media because like there is so many promotional material out there now, so we cannot really grasp a corner. But Steam, somehow it is more just.
Well, I criticized Steam recommendation algorithm a lot
Okay.
in the 2016, and I even wrote an article about it. But it evolved a ton lot since then.
Yeah. Like, do you find it like better, more?
Much better, much
Okay,
better. I mean,
okay.
I currently explore new games on Steam now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps you really find like hidden gems and interesting
Yeah,
titles.
yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Because like we are broadcasting on Steam, so it might be good to end with this. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. We were with Burak Tezateşer of Nowhere Studios. It was a personally very enjoyable talk going on between us. Thank you, sir.
See you around.
Take care. We're going to continue with. Yeah, I'm sorry. we're going to continue with Serkan from Hero Concepts, the creator behind Mayhem Brawler and the upcoming Mayhem Brawler 2. Let's keep watching Land of the Crescent. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, we are back again. So in this session we'll be talking with Serkan Özay, who is a very good friend of mine. Welcome, Serkan. As you know, he's the founder and creative director of Hero Concept.
Yeah.
And which we know very well with their game. First of all, Mayhem Brawler.
Yeah.
And we are expecting the second game impatiently.
Actually, fourth game.
Fourth game. No.
But no one cares about first two.
I mean the sequel of Mayhem Brawler.
That's right.
The second game. Yeah, I'm a bit excited because he's a
So
celebrity.
am I.
He's a celebrity. So yeah, first of all, by the way, I'd like to first of all mention that today is the anniversary of Mayhem Brawler, right?
Yeah.
So it started.
Actually tomorrow, but it's okay because it released globally. So today, tomorrow, it's the same. Okay.
So it was released like how many years ago?
2 years. Yeah.
2 years
we
ago.
released Mayhem Brawler 2 years ago. Yeah. It's like yesterday. you know?
So,
but it was a long journey. I love our creation.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So today we are also celebrating the anniversary of Mayhem Brawler.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I mean, in the Turkish gaming industry, like every studio, every development studio has a different story.
Yeah.
Has a very interesting different story because we are coming from very different backgrounds, and it's quite a job which you really have to be really passionate, right?
It's trial of tears.
Exactly. So I just first of all, I'd like to learn how did it all start for you and for the Hero Concept.
It started for me in 1992 when I first buy my Amiga 500.
1992.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I start. By the way, I buy the computer for the creating game, nothing else. Not playing, creating. So my passion is very.
I guess you were using then Deluxe Paints.
Deluxe Paints 3 and 4. Also, I try Photon Paints and Brilliance
in Amiga 500.
It was wonderful times.
Yeah, probably that's how you started your graphic design journey. Maybe, because Serkan is actually a graphic designer.
Yeah.
You started your career as a graphic designer.
Yes.
And then you were, I think, crazy enough to to continue with founding a game studio.
Actually, my initial plan not founding a studio. I just want to create games. However, when there is no industry, you have to create one.
You have to build it from scratch.
I tried to find different jobs from different companies, but there was nothing sustainable. Lucky for me, when Mevlüt Dinç comes to Turkey, I have a chance to become part of his team.
You mean the Sobe?
Yeah, Sobe. By the way, it wasn't Sobe
before.
Back in the day. I remember we renamed the Dinç Interactive's name to the Sobe.
Yeah.
Hello, Mev Dinç. You know Mev Dinç from Last Ninja 2 or First Samurai Enduro Racer. He's a kind of legend. My journey professionally starts there. We started to create Istanbul Kıyamet Vakti, also known IKV. But I cannot see the game's release because I have to continue my education.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But I'm their very first graphic designer in this team.
In that team, yeah. Istanbul Kıyamet Vakti, which probably we can translate as Istanbul Judgment Day, maybe.
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day.
Or Apocalypse, maybe.
Apocalypse, yeah. It was also a great success in the Turkish gaming history in terms of like a massive multiplayer online game.
Back in the day, everyone wants to try MMOs. I don't know why.
Maybe still, still also, it was kind
Hopefully not.
Yeah, it was kind of a trend which people like probably wanted to try and fail, right? So and then you founded the studio Hero Concept.
Back and forth, I worked on many companies, mobile games, other games. I'm also creating many other games. I'm not proud of it.
Especially like at the beginning of probably 2000s, those AdWord games, branded games were really popular. And
also, I create games for Nokia Series 16. Which pixel arts they was needed pixel arts. So who knows pixel arts? Hello. It was very interesting times. Finally, I met with my current business partners Turgut Hakkı Özdemir. He was a Star Trek.
Love at first sight.
Not actually, but first. I hate him, but in a day...
Hi, Turgut.
Hello. But we both metalheads and also Star Trek fans. So we write each other we take notes for futures. Yeah, I will work with this one. Finally, 6 years ago, we started a company. We started with Dolings. Actually, why Dolings? It was a very small game. We can,
that one, right? Yeah.
He is Morpheus. By the way, I think this is very underrated game because this is the ultimate brick breaker, I think. But no one wants to play a brick breaker these days.
Actually, I want. Maybe we can just continue with Dolings, and it's also an arcade game. Just like the Mayhem Brawler. I guess you have a passion for like developing arcade games. Like, were you also a player during 1990s, playing?
I literally, I waste my youth
arcade
at
halls.
Arcade halls.
So you wasted your youth there, and gave many coins too, right?
I was escaping from school and go there playing games. I lost 2 years because of it.
Really?
In high school. Arcade games is my passion. Best, I know better than other genres.
And it's and I think it's also a genre, or like surely it's arcade games is kind of like a roof genre. We have many different like subgenres under it.
But this one was a mistake.
Why? Why do you think? I mean, it looks very fun.
There was no money in our vault, so we want to create a bigger one called Intercept Course. It was a FTL-like space combat game, turn-based. However, we believe a sequel of Dolings will be a success story. It's not. By the way, this is also ultimate fixed shooter game. However, these days no one playing fixed shooters.
But
it was a Space Invaders tribute.
Yeah.
Also, its graphic style very similar to Mayhem Brawlers. Look at the background style, look at the character style. Okay, these ones are goofy. Yeah, these one very goofy and fat, but same artistic style uses here.
Yeah, so we can say that like you learned a lot from the Duel Links 1 and 2. Yeah,
also
two
both Duel Links released on all platforms, Steam, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4.
So Hero Concept is one of the studios in Turkey which is capable of like developing games for different platforms, especially consoles. Like so you have experience with Xbox.
Yeah. Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo.
Yeah. So it's I think it's a very important let's say leverage to have these days, because you have to meet with the the expectations of the other target audiences of the other platforms.
Yes.
So that you can survive.
Because benefits of the multi-platform developing is if you sell mediocres, it's okay. It's mediocres multiplied by 4.
4, yeah. And you survive.
Yeah.
You survive.
Indeed.
You can pay your rent and
yeah. Definitely.
And then after Duel Links, like both of them, we have
Duel Links.
We have the Mayhem Brawler enters the scene, and it is and I think like time-wise, if I remember correctly, I think you really also like caught the spirit of time. Yeah. Because during those days we have kind of like a flashback for the beat 'em up games in those days, and like how did you sense it?
Still continued.
Yeah. How did you sense it? Like that time is the right time.
Actually, a beat 'em up game wasn't in our priority. We want to create a digital trading card game. It was called Mayhem Chronicles.
Mayhem Chronicles.
So Mayhem universe is created for a digital card game. So it's very depth story, deep stories, personas, historical events, etc. We want to create another arcade game, but we just think let's create with something more close to these days, or trend to these days. Yes, like Streets of Rage 4 starts developed around in the months before us, I can say.
Those times, yeah.
Actually, it was an instinct. I can't say, I read the data and no, it was an instinct.
I think probably that instinct like was coming from your arcade days, probably. Like maybe you already have that seed.
Let's get one thing straight. My pinnacle project, dream project, is a fighting game versus fighting game.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is second best for me.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, there will be fighting game probably after Mayhem Brawler 2. It will called Mayhem Fighters. We will use all Rogues Gallery and Hero rosters.
Upcoming. Not soon,
but eventually.
Upcoming. Yeah.
Eventually.
Near future. Yeah.
There was a problem. Fighting game category is highly competitive. You know, with Mayhem Brawlers, your strongest adversary is Streets of Rage 4. Okay, it sells millions, but it's okay, still okay. But when you create fighting game, there was a Mortal Kombat Street Fighter. Tekken, oh my God, they will beat up.
No way. Yeah. Okay, and I'm sure that developing Mayhem Brawler was very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like in terms of, because in a way in Turkey, like most of students, studios actually, while they are developing, at the same time they're also learning too. So it's but they also have to like meet with the deadlines, like grab know-how, fail, pass, test, and such. So, what can you say about like what was the most difficult thing when while you are developing a beat 'em up game?
Working in
because I can say that for in terms of art style, I think you have a very solid perspective. Like you know what you want, and
also our technical side is strong enough because of Turgut.
But like bringing them together and probably in terms of maybe the balance, I guess, like we talked about before, like the difficulty level, right?
I can say much about this. First of all, Mayhem Brawlers created under the shadow of pandemic.
Okay.
We have to create a game with the remote workers, freelance contractors.
Oh.
I hate both, by the way. I hate freelancers, also remote workers. I love some of them, but mostly I hate working as remote.
Yeah.
I'm kind of old school guy. It's okay for me. You can say anything.
You want to touch your team?
No, please.
I mean, not literally.
No, for example, I ask something on Discord and they back to me in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can say hello.
Yeah.
1 minute against 20 minutes. It's time consuming.
Exactly. Like
exhausting also.
I guess with the pandemic, it has become a form of working, like all around the world, and I think there is no way back. Because probably we have kind of a bit like hybrid ways of working.
Yeah, of course.
And especially maybe for some very specific tasks, you can work with people, but for the core team, you want to like work with them together.
We learned it, but as I said, I don't like it, but it's kind of work.
Okay, great. So now you are actually working on the next game, which is Mayhem Brawler
2, Best of Both Worlds.
Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah.
Both worlds? Like any...
Okay,
I guess the title also says something, right?
Yeah. I can't spoil much, but by the way, we have huge change of visual style. For example, now we're using 3D backgrounds. We still using traditional animation style on characters. However, they are more like Jim Lee style rather than mobile game style.
But we can say that there's a huge like improvement in terms of especially first of all the art style.
Just different approach. They are still time consuming as not changing. However, Best of Both Worlds, because we, as I said, I can't spoil much. However, the story will tell us about 2 different timelines between 20 years each other. For example, this lady, Stellar, mother of the star, she was hero of the first game. I can say tell the terms what antagonist antagonist of our first game.
Okay. So in a way, the story continues too.
By the way, everyone knows Stellar is die on duty. We will tell her story.
Okay. Okay, so in a way...
Also tell her story, and we will also tell a present time story.
So we have kind of like flashback, flash forward kind of.
I don't know.
Okay, okay, we'll see about it. Yeah, first of all, like I was just going to ask that, like what was like how they differ, how Mayhem Brawler 2 differs from the first game. First, you said that it has a different narrative approach. First of all,
narrative approach will change.
Definitely, and the art style. Surely you keep the core, but I think it's much more. I don't know, like strong or polished or like vibrant.
The first one's goal was creating a 19th beat 'em up game. I think we achieved it in first game. We trying to achieve a bit more. For example, we had some roguelike aspects, blending with some RPG aspects. For example, we will use some temporary powers, spawning randomly enemies, because you know beat 'em ups generally played by the players with memorizing which enemy spawned where.
It's linear, right?
I want to break this thing and creating something more exciting. Also, I think it will improve the level and content.
Okay. Cool. Other than those games, like you are also a public figure in the
really?
Am I? Yeah. In the Turkish gaming scene, and you always want to share. You always share your know-how with some new presentations in the events, in the expos, and such. Like, do you have like what can you say, like from your, like based on your experiences, what can you say that in terms of in general, especially maybe for the indie scene, like what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong? Because that could also be, I think, maybe
the current generation much better than my generation, actually. Of course, they are lucky in terms of reaching the knowledge. Was back in the day, it was very difficult. However, I like this generation. I mean, generation Z. I don't like generation Y, for example.
Why?
Because.
Why not?
There are very strong game jam community in Turkey. They are fantastic. This is a very big good aspect for the industry, for the scene, of course. Wrong, I don't know what's wrong, a bit toxic sometimes. Because of the social media, because of the certain personalities, but it's okay. They can bark, we can create.
They can bark, but cannot bite. Huh? Okay.
Good.
Okay. So and you also mentioned some, like you also mentioned about. I want to talk about some future plans. So you also mentioned about. Like Mayhem Brawler Chronicles. So in a way,
Mayhem Chronicles.
Mayhem Chronicles. Sorry. So
Mayhem and genre. Brawlers, fighters.
It continues.
Etc. Adventure.
So your plans are much more about like developing games in that world, I suppose.
We have some projects in our stash. Very different, other than a Mayhem universe project, of course. But as I said, we created 3 games so far. Except the first one, we don't know what will be next. The circumstances pulls us something somewhere, and we created Dolinks Invasion, then Mayhem Brawler. Yeah, I can safe to say Mayhem Brawler 2 is exactly what we want to
achieve.
Because we learned many things in first project. Our beta test process, we learned much from beta test process. We released 3 major updates for the first one. I think if we released Mayhem Brawler's vanilla version like Mayhem Brawler 1's first updated version, it could be a big deal.
It would be a big deal. Okay then. Well, it's quite exciting to hear that. And yeah, I also like when you said about the testing, you like you told me about a story about the testing process of Mayhem Brawler, and it was quite a pain in the ass. Because because you told that you first made it a bit difficult, but at the same time, if I remember correctly, the people who played the game were also like hardcore gamers, and they played it very very easily. But then
I shared those experiences in my seminars. Yes, in testing process, you can take damage from many directions. For example,
because since it's like a beat 'em up game, that balance is very important, right?
For example, when you trying to use your friends as a tester, you will be failed. Because you need to.
So the family and friends circle didn't work.
No, maybe in investments, but
maybe, but not in in testing.
Not beta testing, please. You need to reach some genre following influencers, for example. I'm not talking about big deal influencers. You can use help from some minuscule influencers, small influencers. It's okay. They will help you. They will advise you, test your game. So I'm grateful for our beta testers of Mayhem Brawlers. They are still around us for the second one, and they are also
they're also part of the game, right?
Yeah.
Part, like they are kind of like as characters, they are in the game.
Yes, in Mayhem Brawler 2 are some key beta testers will be an NPC in the game.
Okay.
As you are.
I was just going to say that. I'm also one of the what do you call the bystanders in the next game, Mayhem Brawler 2. So thank you for that. So be careful. Because Serkan can pick you and like turn you into a bystander, or maybe not just a bystander, maybe someone like who will be beaten up throughout the game. So be careful.
I can use, for example, my former workers.
Okay, ex-workers. Okay. Other than that, like you mentioned about the testing, which is I think one of the very critical problems.
Bleeding.
I mean, especially in Turkey, because we don't, in a way, like when it comes to testing, it's a stage where which we think of not that much. Like
I think the country, this country needs a QA and testing program professionally.
Actually, in Bug Lab nowadays, like we are working on one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know it.
Goal.
and now we call it.
This is not an advertisement.
Yeah, no.
It's totally natural.
It's still an experiment, guys. We call it bug test, which is very natural too.
And first victim will be Mayhem Brawler 2.
Yeah, you promised.
Yeah.
So and like we also want to, if we could pull it off, hopefully, if we could pull it off, if we could manage to establish it, which we hopefully we will be able to, because we have some graduates like working on that project, and they are very passionate about it. And we also want to support the community in terms of the playtesting part too, and also we approach it as also a research and development project, because it's endless, because way of playing, like new takes and such. Yeah, I mean, it's a department, like it's an ongoing thing, like even from maybe from the early stages of the game. Okay. How much time we have? 5. Okay, cool. 5 minutes. Okay, we have, because I just want to know the time so that, and maybe we can continue, since we have the last 5 minutes. We can continue with some advices for the indies.
Don't try this at home.
But they will have to, because
join game jams. Keep good relations with some passionate friends. This is a teamwork. Of course, you can be solo developers, but it's friends. With friends, it's better.
It's easier and better.
As I said, game jams are important. Also, small or medium size, you need to complete some games. Any game, but completion is another thing, because one greater than 0, that's it.
Yeah, and probably you will, we know the story of Rovio, right?
Of course.
They develop, if I'm not wrong, like 50 games, 50 games, and they were like
those dark days.
Yeah, and they all failed, and they were just about to bankrupt. I guess that was the.
And create this ugly red bird.
They just had the last. I don't know, but maybe let's say $10,000. It's not the money for them, for sure. And they came up with the Angry Birds, and they are now at the huge.
But I
sure it's a
story. I was talking about the experience aspects, because completing a game as a whole, releasing, building, file size, icon, capsule images, marketing texts, achievements. They are aspects of challenges. Many challenges. You have to create. You have to see all of them and experience all of them.
In a way, like working on maybe many games, many different genres. First of all, also. But besides, maybe I can ask you one more thing. Like besides that development experience, like prototyping and such. What about the game culture? Like, because they need to find ideas. Like, where can they find those ideas from? Like, for example, how do you find your concepts, or like where do you inspire from?
These characters, at least 30 years old. Back in my mid-school days.
So you are keeping them in your sketchbook? Or?
Yes, Dolphin, Star, Trouble, they are nearly 30 years old.
Wow.
13 years old.
13. Okay. So it's all about also like keeping ideas, like maybe.
Also, I create my primary inspiration is comic books.
Comic books. Okay.
Obviously, Dowlings was imitating comic characters when they morph. Mayhem Brawler characters are also superheroes in a sense. As I said, my primarily inspiration source is comics.
Okay, great. I guess it's the end of our time. Any last words, Serkan? Like any last?
Don't try this at home.
Okay. Thank you again, and also I
Thank
wish
you for asking.
I wish you a great release for the Mayhem Brawler 2.
Mayhem Brawler 2.
Both of
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. Sorry, and I think it will be a great success because Mayhem Brawler 1 was also a great success, and I think you already have your target audience now, like, or let's say community. Sorry.
Hopefully.
Community. Yeah, and good luck with it, and I hope you continue to give talks to the community and share your know-how, because it's, I think, a very valuable thing for the community. Thank you again. And in the next session, we will have Murat Palta, the artist behind the Land of Crescent artworks. So keep watching.
Hello everyone, we are back for the last broadcast of the night. We are with the renowned artist Murat Palta, or shall I say postmodern miniature artist. It's a pleasure to host you. Welcome, sir.
Hello, and I'm glad that you are having me here, and I'm really glad to be a part of this event, which I could call myself as a gamer, and it was a nice opportunity, and I can see lots of relation in between, and it was a bit inevitable for me, so I'm really enjoying being here.
And thanks a lot for accepting our offer for becoming the artist of the event, because as an admirer of your art, I remember coming to one of your let's say shows in a gallery which was in Karaköy, and that time I was thinking about, okay, we might do something with this guy, and then it became a reality. So thanks a lot for volunteering for.
Oh, thanks a lot. Maybe it's my unprofessional side not to get too excited. I mean, I suddenly got hooked up to the subject, and I a bit tend to carry it away a bit further, because I never thought it as some kind of job opportunity, some kind of how to tell collaboration as a body of work. I just felt like, okay, I should be in that event.
Thanks a lot. Thanks
You're
a lot,
welcome.
because your art contributed a lot to this event. So I'd like to, of course, because there might be some viewers who are meeting you for the first time, I'd like to just return to the basics, and when did your fascination for miniature art begin? Because for the people who don't know about Murat's art, we're going to show them in a second. He has a certain style of blending Anatolian, Ottoman, Selçukian, miniature,
Asian art in general.
With popular culture, game culture, and geek culture. Overall.
And current events as well. So,
how did your relationship with miniature begin?
Okay, maybe we should describe what miniature art is, because most of the people tend to think that miniature, the first thing came to their mind is just something a lot smaller, miniature art can be mistaken with that, but what we call miniature art is basically one of the traditional Ottoman art, Turkish art in general, and the purpose of this art, what we call miniature art, was to depict the sceneries, stories in manuscript that it took
historical
place.
events.
Historical events, whatever the subject is in the manuscript back then in Ottoman era, and of course it dates back way before Ottoman and everything, but there are of course some parts to make it more, how to say, make it a little bit changing. It changed depending on the culture and everything, and there is also a geographical and historical transition in between, and I am really interested in that. I mean, I am interested in I don't know, maybe a medieval Western culture, in Turkish culture, and various cultures. And
so can we say that you're interested in different depictions and reflections of cultures and timelines?
Totally, and I really love the idea how they perceive the world with their own art style. I mean, we can see some historic significant characters in the history are depicted differently depending on their time, geography, culture. For instance, Alexander the Great, we can see himself in the Ottoman miniature art, as well as we can see, some Western medieval manuscripts we can also see him there, and they all describe differently. And the other thing is, miniature art was, I don't know how to tell, but it always considered as art for the palace. What we call palaces, of course, the Ottoman Empire's headquarters. And the biggest commissioner was the Sultan himself, of course, for this kind of manuscripts and everything. And eventually, those arts oriented around to,
Depict
depict for.
So how did you get the idea that you could produce one? How?
It's not really a story like, an apple fell onto my head. And there's not a certain, story, but there are some stories to prove the idea. One of which was when I was in Hungary, in Budapest. I met a woman, and she told me that she had been in India for like 10 years or so. And back then I studied graphic design, and I already had interest in that type of art and that type of detail, style, and everything. And after finding out I studied graphic design, she told me that she adapted some graphic design programs, shareware, and that type of stuff, and started producing traditional Indian ornaments, mangala and that type of style. And that made me think about that, because I'm of course not against
Was she Indian or
no?
Okay.
It was the whole point actually.
All
She
right.
is Hungarian and going to India and creating this, and of course, and I started to create. I created the same idea as a Turk. What if another person from totally another country comes to my country and create that type of stuff? And that would be a bit saddening, not because someone else did it, because we didn't it in the first place, because there are some
I see.
Yeah, there should be connections.
So like it would be some kind of a missed opportunity for them.
Yeah, totally, because it's a beautiful art, to be honest, and I can totally understand those people who are not interested in that type of art, because like I said, it's traditional, it's old, and it doesn't take place in today's culture.
Yeah, but at the same time, what you do is just, bringing it up to today's culture.
Reviving maybe. I don't know, and I really like the idea, to create some connections in the past and current, as well as connections in between.
Great work, sir. Like I have to add that after like seeing these, like I of course studied your art, but this was the first time I saw the Jurassic Park thing, and like for me, like what Murat achieves best is like his ability to study different elements of miniatures, different forms, like different limbs, organs, ornamentation styles, etc., and implementing those to Pokemon or like Velociraptors or Transformers in the right forms that it really looks authentic. For me, this is your success, because like there might be many people who might try to like imitate it, but you like when you draw a Ninja Turtle in Anatolia, it works because like you have studied it meticulously.
Totally. I looked into lots of examples throughout the history, not only for Ottoman art, but also...
It shows, because it doesn't seem like a regular Pokemon, because like you completely play with the proportions and stuff, and still register it as a Pokemon.
You need to find equivalent of what you are going to create, and it requires some information, of course, and I am really interested in that art, and I don't know, it's like a treasure. The more you dig in, the more you find out about lots of interesting details throughout the history, and that's eventually come out, because I am also interested in popular culture, and I'm also following the current events, which it's inevitable to, stay away today.
Yeah.
And
In Turkey, it is very hard. Right?
If you are especially interested in that type of art, you can see the connections in between. For instance, you mentioned Pokemon, and we can see the quite equivalent of those creatures in the Ottoman art, which is called Acayibül Mahlukat, and we can see weird creations placed in those manuscripts. So you need to know that and make some connection, and you also need to know different cultures and how they blend in different, their inspiration and that type of stuff.
Very good job, sir. Very good
thanks.
job. Okay. Let's come to the recent times then, because I know that you've been doing this for at least 7 years or so.
More.
Longer, yeah. I know.
Approximately 10 years.
10 years.
I graduated in 2012, so it makes 11 years.
Wow. Yeah, and
a decade.
And I sincerely wish that you continue
Thanks.
This path of success and developing yourself as an artist. You have recently worked on an Assassin's Creed anniversary piece. And you started with doing things yourself, for the art galleries then, and right now you are doing stuff for AAA game companies. So when you look at your career, what has changed? What has remained and what has changed?
Actually, I have been working with various companies, and I am also in contact with a gallery which I represent my more artistic style, which I feel more free, and as well as I make some collaborations with different companies. And Assassin's Creed is not the first. I actually worked with Bethesda. Few years earlier, I created another piece for Skyrim's 10th year anniversary and Elder Scrolls Online as well. But the most striking thing is actually being able to work with the companies that you actually like. It's not forced. It's not, and they are giving you some, space
to experiment?
Totally. I mean, like I said.
Okay, that was one of my questions. Were you free enough to, because working within an IP, it's a complicated matter.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so what kind of experiences do you have while working with, such big companies?
I am really blessed about that, because so far I have never, encountered a, collaboration that really restricts me. And so far I have worked with, open-minded people. And,
Great.
But I also understand at the end of the day, some works are more commercial, to say the least, and they have, of course, some concerns, and the product can be the first thing. And I totally understand that, but also
this is a business.
We need to accept that, and I can't, be spoiled to say, okay, that's my area, and I can do. I can't do that, and I totally understand that. But on the other hand, I bring the ideas on the table that what I can do and how can I make this story integrated with traditional art, and I am more how to tell.
Experience in that universe. That is why you were chosen. It works naturally. Right?
Totally. And I know that those people can be, stranger to the, my field. And so, okay, that's what you want to do. And okay, let me show you what we have in the, Ottoman culture, which can be equivalent of your story. And this is my approach. And so far, I have been working with very friendly, very open-minded, positive, and the most important thing is that in a business, it doesn't matter, you can have
communication.
Totally. It's not like okay, we are doing great and it's going great and we need to stay positive. No, you
of course there
you
are challenges.
need to find
we also gone through our own challenges for Land of the Crescent while working.
Yeah,
sure. So you studied graphic design, and you know we have our students here. Probably like there are some other students watching us right now, and like probably in Turkey, you were dreaming about like becoming something or expecting to like become something in your future. What were you dreaming about when you compare like the place you have reached at the moment? Is it that different? Like, can you say that like it went as I expected more or less? Like, what were you aspiring for?
I was going to mention that in your previous question because I didn't think through, I mean, very detailed, you know, it's really hard to make a career plan for like 10 years or so. If you are...
Especially if you're an artist.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you're an artist, you really don't know how people would react and you need to express yourself. The thing is, I have been drawing since the day I knew myself, so it became my, you know, job after a certain of time. But I never thought it would go that far. I was going to mention that actually, and like Assassin's Creed is, you know, they are celebrating their 15th year anniversary, and I mentioned Skyrim. They celebrated their 10th year anniversary, and I remember myself playing those games. And if I could go back in time and told that Murat that, you know what, you are going to, you know, do something for them, and he would go totally crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
So it's a great thing to take part in that kind of.
I know. Like it's not about like any money or like it's not about, you know, any kind of a, let's say, reputation.
Yeah.
Like I had a similar experience with Stygian because like at the Kickstarter project of Stygian, like we got supported by like Brian Fargo himself, and Brian Fargo and our director also, you know, knows very well. He is the name that you see before each Fallout game, before Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Like Brian Fargo presents, like he was some kind of a deity for us because like we were really into those kinds of RPGs. And like seeing that name, like he was somebody like we can never reach. He's a person, he's a good person. Like we've emailed a few times whatsoever, but like in the childish mind of John, like Brian Fargo is like something like a deity, and like seeing him, and you know, I became a game designer out of nothing. Like I did not have any prior industry experience because like it wasn't around at that time. Being supported by Brian Fargo like writing a comment about my non-existent game, like it was such a shock. Really, but it was also inspiring to me that like I can do it, and like if you can like break that barrier of, you know, let's say fate, the world opens up for you. Like this is how I approach this.
Yeah,
so
totally.
do you think the same?
Yeah, but it can be also a burden. I mean, okay, I'm having a positive feedback from someone I really admire, but I really need to deserve that, and it can be a pressure, but it's a good thing. I mean, there should be pressure always, and there should be always a room for mistakes, because at the end of the day, it's going to
totally agree.
It can be, you know.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Then there is no game. Like if I express it in game terms, like at the class we always talk about like what is the challenge, what is the rewards. Like and like, in order to complete the challenge, you need to, you know, go through some kind of pressure.
Totally. Yeah. And like I said, it can turn out in a way you wouldn't expect, right? And but at least you could say, okay, this is what I did, and there are the flaws, and the next time I need to be more careful, because like I say, I take a look at my old pieces, which I did like 11 years ago, and I can see the mistakes that I did. And if I did them today, I wouldn't do that. But if I didn't make that mistake back then, and I wouldn't do this is why I'm better.
Part of the journey, right?
Of course, I can solve the problems that I solved in my elementary school. But if I didn't make mistakes back then, I wouldn't be able to solve them today. Yeah, that's the whole point. And also you can see those people you really admire are not that different from you.
For sure, we are all human beings. Like we all belong to the same, let's say, species. That is for sure. So like if we come to Land of the Crescent, like how different did you approach this project? Like was it fun working?
Of course it's fun.
Yeah, like with Bugbeb Tekmer, like with us on the process. Like what made you excited and like what do you see in your art that you approach differently in Land of the Crescent?
It was like stars aligned. Like I said, it was a bit inevitable, and I am really interested in playing games and the pop culture that brings. And it's a festival related to Turkish developers, and I can't say I'm just a consumer of video games, popular culture, but I also approach the way how they create it, how they produce, and I am really interested in those who are behind the curtains. So it was an opportunity for me to meet you.
Yeah, for us too.
So
Thanks a lot, sir.
But if you look in general, I didn't make anything too different from what I did. I mean, like I have been doing this for like 10 years, so theme couldn't be different. But the thing is, it is more game related, and there's always a room for innuendos that subject, and it was a nice opportunity to create.
Thank you. And there is a game in our selection called Leila, which was inspired, which has a level that was inspired by your art.
That's great.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw it, and it's really inspiring to be inspiring.
Yeah. So good, so good.
Yeah, I know. I can't say it's my style. Of course, my style is traditional miniature art, but you can see it's not Murat Palta's art style, but it's traditional Ottoman art style. But
you gave them this idea to
because
make that blend.
I can see some students that studying traditional arts in their university, and it's their field, and they come to my exhibitions and that type of events, and they express that I was the reason that they started taking up traditional art lessons, and it is really, really inspiring.
So
because
good.
I wouldn't know it would be that far.
Yeah, because there are some really interesting crafts or art styles that have been going on for like thousands of years. And these days, most of them are on the verge of extinction.
Yeah.
Because the modern society cannot really make those people survive. Who passed on that discipline from the master to the student, and it went on for centuries. These days, even car repairers, they cannot find some kind of students to pass on their experiences. We are living in a different world. So seeing this kind of an approach in a video game, especially in a puzzle element, it's it should be, must be inspiring for sure. Murat, would you like to add anything about the event, your art, if there are any admirers among our viewers, any admirers of you, what should they expect from you for the future?
It's also a burden to tell, but I am really, keen on trying various things because it's not only limited to,
Traditional
of course,
Turkish art.
Yeah, it's not only limited to creating, static imagery, if it's a right word to put, but I really want to work more various mediums. So
Really?
I am really interested in
like animations.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Maybe
Games, maybe.
Yeah, would be awesome because this is also inevitable, right?
Yeah, let's keep in touch.
Yeah, why not? That's exactly what I mean, and I hope it turns out great because, like I said, there's always room for experiments. So why not?
Definitely. So we thank Murat for his time. It was a real pleasure to work with you and host you here, sir. And
Thanks,
this was the last broadcast of the second day of Land of the Crescent. We're going to see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching. Good night.